All right, so there is this very famous viral clip of former political pundit. Maybe he's still a current political pundit. I don't know. His name is Bill O'Reilly. He hosted a show called The O'Reilly Factor, and there was this outtake of him getting very angry with his production staff where he is literally screaming, fuck it, we'll do it live. That's this podcast today. Welcome to Section 1904. It's Tuesday. It's the 19th day of August. We have to do this live because I've kind of created a little bit of a mess here today. This is on me. John has been patient, and he has been waiting and asking when it is that we can get today's podcast going. But just got back to the house. It's just a little bit past 1 o'clock for those that are going to listen later on demand at your convenience, which is the way most people consume Section 1904. I've just had a howler of a morning. Let me put it this way. I got in the car, Ben and Woods, with no Ben today for some reason.
Okay.
That was on my radio, and it's just about time, I think, for the 2 o'clock people to start checking in. So I had to go out to Sequan, Singing Hills. Training today, the schedule's been adjusted for SDFC because it's summertime and it gets hot, so they're trying to do things a little bit earlier. And since I'm on the call this weekend, I wanted to get out there, watch a little bit of training. I had an interview, and of course, the person that I was interviewing was a little late. Not to blame anybody here, but and then of course, by the time I was driving back, I tried to make it home without having to get gas. One of those kind of days. And of course, my gas tank told me that I needed to refuel immediately as I was getting off the 54 freeway. Still had a couple of exits to go. I needed to cool off. I needed to choke down a sandwich. And I said, John, I think we just need to do this live. So fuck it. We'll do it live. That's what I'm trying to say here. Thank you for your patience, but maybe there's something good that will come out of this as well. How are
Darren,
you?
You've turned into Marty Caswell today. You were so obsessed with getting down to SDFC. The worst part of this is you asked if we could tape at 8:45 in the morning, way earlier than we normally do. And I said, I'm dropping my daughter off at her first day of second grade, but I can tape at 9. Somehow 9 a.m. became 1:15 in the afternoon, and you almost drove your car to the point where you had to have someone deliver you gas. So you're full Marty Caswell today, and that's okay. This can be a little bit of a tribute to her.
Okay, well, nothing happened. Really, nothing has happened. The Padres lost. We can get into some of those particulars, but they're going to play again coming up in a couple of hours. You are right. I never really know how far to push the limits of the gas tank. I don't know if you're a nervous Nelly when you're driving around, if you're told that you have to go refuel, like, are you immediately looking for a gas station? When I got into my car at Sequam to drive to Imperial Beach, top of my head, I don't know how many miles that is. It said that I had 22 miles. It's like 22. I think that's within range. I think. Now, it's also hot out there, so I will confess that I was running some air conditioning, which means I'm not getting as good a gas mileage as I normally should. I get about 34 miles to the gallon in the vehicle that I'm driving. So I'm trying to do this math. I'm like, I think I can make it. I do. I think I can make this here. I don't need to delay this any further, but I never really know how much to trust that, right? So then as I'm getting 54, heading west, onto the 5 South, it tells me 1 mile. And does it really mean 1 mile?
Yikes.
And like, can I push this? Can I make it to Palm Avenue? Can I make it to Imperial Beach Boulevard? I did push it, and I did make it to Imperial Beach Boulevard, but I figured I just should put a couple of bucks of gas in the car. So I never really know how to trust that. What do you do?
You should know this by now about me. I am a nervous Nelly. As soon as that light goes on, I'm like, oh no. There's one time, it was when I got my first electric car, which was a lease, and I drove it up to the Rose Bowl to see a UCLA game. And then on the way back, it said that the range that I had was like almost exactly the amount of miles that I had to drive home. And it's not a gas station where you just pull off any exit, there's going to be a gas station. So I was like, I can make it. And I think it literally ran out of juice as I was pulling into my driveway at like 1 a.m, which was good because I would have been totally screwed otherwise. But the last 50 miles, it was screaming at me. At one point, it started turning off like the infotainment center in the to conserve battery power, and I was getting really, really nervous. But I was like, "What do I do? Where do I go? There's no like gas stations. Pull up and pop." So Yeah, one of the downsides of driving an EV, I suppose. But no, I'm definitely well, especially now that I can just plug into my garage every single night, and usually do. I don't usually have to worry about it anymore. But I've always been a nervous Nelly when it comes to getting to the airport early, making sure my gas tank is refilled before it hits the bottom. I've also had people tell me that your like gas filter, whatever, gets really mucky and yucky if you let it burn all the way to the bottom. So. I would have gotten it. Well, it was 1 mile. That'd be keeping me up at night for a while.
And I had like 4 miles to go till my exit. And you are right about that. I think you're supposed to put some fuel injection cleaner. Does that sound right?
Probably,
into your gas tank.
It does sound right.
Running it really, really low. I think that's when you run out of gas altogether. I did see Caesar ask, where did I get the sandwich? I made it. I actually made that at home. I do have some cold cuts here, so I was able to throw some sliced chicken on a piece of bread and choke it down real quick. Probably still in my teeth. I haven't even brushed my teeth. I just had a shot of espresso, and we'll get to go on this podcast. But man, it's kind of a mess, and I feel bad. I don't want to rat anybody out, but I think players needed a little bit of time. One of the player that I needed to wait for, Marcus Ingvartsen.
Did he have to do his hair?
He is a handsome man
with great hair, fantastic hair.
He just he's getting back. He's not all the way back. So, he requires maybe a touch more maintenance than some of the other guys. So, not in a bad way, but, he needed just needed a little bit of whatever that is that they do just to make sure that they're going to be operational for the upcoming weekend. But that's a big squad out there. There are a lot of people. There are a lot of people running around. So, So I had to wait. And of course, like every time, like if we do this podcast in the morning, usually by the time I get out there, they're waiting for me. But when I say, all right, we'll do the podcast when I get back, it shouldn't be too bad. I think practice ends at about 10:15.
You're waiting
so we shouldn't be too, it's always you have to wait. I was expecting to get home at 10:15, 10:45, and instead I got home at like 1 o'clock. So, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know that I can wait for this as much as I want to talk to Marcus. I just don't know. I just don't know. Yeah, Milan Ilosky would never do that.
That is a joke from the comments. That's not Darren actually saying that for anyone who's listening to this podcast later.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. I'm not going to read these comments then because you guys are setting traps and I'm going to get in trouble and people are going to take it out of context. Although,
that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I did tell Marcus, I was like, I think when everybody was writing stories about how could this club let that guy go or how this club's needs to go find a number 9. And he's like, yeah, it's like, I was aware, I mean, that was part of my process of getting back. So anyhow, that'll be for the midweek show coming up tomorrow. Can I tell you one quick thing that happened out there at training? And he said this on record, so I will say it here.
Please.
Because Warren Barton was out there and he was interviewing Mikey Varas, and Mikey said, and this is almost a quote. He said, you were talking about the field conditions at PayPal Park in San Jose. We were talking about it during the broadcast.
Yeah.
Mikey went a step further and it's like, the league needs to look into that. That can't happen. We cannot have our clubs playing on that field. He said this into a mic. It'll be on the midweek show tomorrow. In greater detail, he goes, we went back and watched it. 28 different players lost their balance during that match. He goes, that field, it's inexcusable, the conditions that they're asking professional players to play on, and the league needs to look into that. I was like, whoa, okay. That's about as strong as I've heard Mikey for anything. But he's like, he went all in on it. So, if you were watching that and thinking the same thing, you're like, I don't know, what are they doing? Is this gamesmanship? Did they put the sprinklers on or what have you? He's like, nah, man, it was bad. And again, I think 26, 28, something like that. Both sides, he did say it was impacting both sides, but he was not happy. With 3, he was not happy that they had to play on that field.
Did anyone ask him, or I know you've gone back and you've watched previous San Jose games, is this like a one-off or are they known for poor field conditions?
I think what he said was like, he definitely said it wasn't like a gamesmanship thing because I heard it. And then when they were done, I followed up just for my own satisfaction. And he said, it's hard as a rock. They just kind of put things on it. He didn't blame that they played the previous night, that there was an NWSL game there the previous night that San Diego Wave won. He didn't say any of that. He didn't say it was all chopped. He said it was more dirt than grass and that it is hard as a rock. It's like somebody just put some sod over some concrete. He's like, I'm just telling you, like the league is asking for trouble with that. So anyhow, I mean, it's obviously not sour grapes because they won the match, but
yeah,
just in terms of like that guy, and I've heard him speak a lot on and off the record, and he was he was genuinely ticked off, unlike some other coaches around town who pretend to be ticked off about certain things, right?
We're going to talk about that. But just before we leave this, I think that's also Mikey being really, really smart, being like, all you people who criticize Snapdragon Stadium and the field conditions there, it's not that bad. I would tell you if it was that bad. It's not that bad.
And he has. I mean, he has
Right.
said that the field is less than perfect. I mean,
Right.
We'll see what happens Saturday. Hasn't there been in a San Diego State football practice there?
Was there? Were you, were you one of the 15 people who saw it, Darren?
I was not. I'm searching for somebody. I've put the call out there on the Discord, on the SDSU tab on the Discord channel, to find out if anybody who's a subscriber to Section 1904 was at that scrimmage, but nobody's answered our call because I was hoping to find out what it looked like internally. I know what it looked like externally, and it wasn't flattering towards enthusiasm for San Diego State's football product, but
Yeah.
that's social media. So what do I know? Anyhow, if you're watching this is one of the benefits of being a subscriber to Section 1904. So this isn't available for everybody. This is exclusive. Am I saying something that's right?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. So this is a benefit of sorts, I suppose, to being a subscriber to Section 1904, is that when we have to make up for lost time, we can just immediately expedite this right in there into the feed on the Discord channel, on the YouTube channel as well. That's not it. You get access to John's daily newsletter called Front Row Seat, which gets delivered right there to the inbox every weekday, Monday through Friday, all the headlines that you need to know. Exclusive live content like this. Our social media channels are open for everybody, but we are on Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter. There's rumors that there's a TikTok channel as well. John has been keeping tabs on some of the TikTok activity and how we're becoming major players in the TikTok space, John. So I appreciate you for doing that. I have yet to activate my account. You can also follow John personally. Do you have the same account on all your social media channels? I do. I'm at D Smith Show.
No. I think they're all different. On Blue Sky, it's johngennaro.com. On Twitter, it's John M. Gennaro, because someone already had John Gennaro. On Instagram, it's Obvious Man, but I mostly keep that private because it's a lot of my kid on there.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and that's my TikTok. I'm a lurker on TikTok. I don't actually post anything except on behalf of Section 1904.
But Section 1904 does have TikTok.
Yep.
account. So
and an Instagram account and a YouTube channel and all the other social media things that we have to do to find more people. And you know what? Every time I feel a little bit dirty, a little bit gross about it, we get another sign up, another person emailing in or going on the Discord and being like, "Hey, Darren Smith's on the air again. Let's go." And I'm like, all right, there's some people that still don't understand that they can listen to you every day. And by doing all this sometimes gross social media promotion or sometimes feels gross social media promotion, we're introducing more people to exactly what they want, which I'm happy about.
Okay. What is the backstory on Obvious Man?
I don't know.
Did you pick up that title somewhere? I was with the virtual stat man yesterday, Sean Kelly. He and I went and got together in the afternoon. I took a bike ride up to Coronado, which is where Sean Kelly lives. He's in town for at least another week. So he and I hung out a little bit. Didn't talk a lot about Formula One, but he's the virtual stat man. How did you become Obvious Man?
So there was a cartoon, like a comic strip in the newspaper for a while, and they had this recurring character named Obvious Man who would just show up in like a superhero cape and everything and say the most obvious thing possible. And I am sometimes a little gullible, and sometimes I tend to say the obvious thing just to make sure that everyone around me understands what. And so I think this was like my siblings, my family, my parents, they were like, "It's you, you're this guy." And they started cut every time this guy would show up in the comic, they'd cut it out, they'd put it on the fridge. And at one point it was I think it was my AOL name.
AOL.
And then it just carried over into Instagram when I was looking for something that wasn't my real name.
AOL. All right. Look at you.
Back in the day.
Dial up. Hanging out in the chat rooms.
I felt, Darren, this is the thing about getting old. You don't feel old until other people think you're old, and then you feel them thinking you're old. You and I logged on for one of these Dodgers postgame shows on YouTube, and the first comment that popped in was someone who I think is a subscriber said, "It's my two favorite old guys." And I was like, oh, Jesus. That's not what I want to be.
Yeah. Well, perception's reality. But
yeah.
If you didn't know how old you were, how old would you feel?
10 years younger.
Okay. Yeah, it's about the same for me.
Yeah.
You know what made me feel old today when I was driving out to Singing Hills and I was listening to Woods? They had a commercial on 97.3 for the Discover card. I was like, the Discover card that's still a thing? That was a card that I somehow was given approval for before I was even 21. I think I signed up for it somewhere when I was in college, and I immediately ran right past the limit. Couldn't make my payments. Tried to make minimum payments forever. Never should have been approved for this card. I was like, whoa, the Discover card is still out there doing this? Like, they're still doing the business? I had absolutely no idea that the Discover card, I figured that thing would have been totally gone by now because a bunch of irresponsible schmucks like me were their entire, like that was the entire clientele. So I didn't realize that. But it brought back some memories of like literally having to go to a payphone and call Discover and request another $1,000 credit so I can buy beers at the stadium or whatever, which is exactly what it was that would happen. Like, could never pay the bills, pay the minimum for like years on that, like 22% increase. But Discover card, did you even know that was still a thing? I had no idea.
I know Discover card was a thing. Don't they do the black card? Isn't that their thing? The celebrity black card?
Isn't that Amex?
Oh, you're right. No, yeah, you're right. I did not know Discover card was still a thing. I was mixing them up with Amex.
I also learned that sports radio shows still do a lot of games. There's a lot of games being played there. Hey, we got a new game for you.
We got to kill the clock, Darren.
I know. I understand it. I'm with you. All right. Speaking of killing the clock, so Padres lose, 4-game losing streak.
Yeah.
Yeah. San Francisco tonight.
After the 3-game winning streak, just wiped it right out.
Yeah. Though apparently the Dodgers actually are shit since they also lost to the Colorado Rockies. They're just not shit when they face the Padres. They turned into the 27 Yankees, I guess.
Of course.
It's the moral of that. So still a couple of games back, still within striking distance. 3 games coming up this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. By the time I tuned into this game, I got home about 7:15. And the first thing I did before I was powering up the MLB app. I took a quick scroll through Discord and I saw all the consternation there that was expressed early on. I was like, what happened here so early that there's this sort of panic? And I thought at first this has to be an injury, right? Somebody had to have gone down in a pile, but no, that wasn't it. 3 home runs, top of the first inning for the Giants. And, Nestor Cortez, who afterwards was like, well, after the first inning, I was pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. It's part of your appearance there, buddy. But they fought back. There's a little bit of controversy. I don't know how much you want to get into the game by now. Again, it's middle of the afternoon. There's another game in 4 hours or whatever. So, I don't have a bunch about the game itself, but, there was the moment beforehand, which seems to be the story, which is, the media scrum, as it's called, and Mike Shildt is there doing his media scrum. So, of course, it's not just the people that travel with the team. It's not just the beat reporters. It's not just AC. It's not just Lynn. Now it's like your local TV goobers, and it's all the other people that are in there. So, everybody on the first game of a series just comes out of the woodwork because, they want to be there. And that's just kind of how it goes. But, there's this moment, this exchange, and I know people, and I'm reluctant to bring it up, John, because, I gather that a guy like AJ Cassavell from MLB.com doesn't particularly enjoy being one of the characters of what it was and how it is that people are talking about the Padres today. I'm just going to take a run at that because I know AJ pretty well. I consider him a friend. He used to be a regular feature on the show. That, these guys, especially the writers, they're not doing this. This isn't intended for broadcast, but this has become part of the overall media experience now of covering the team, is that your media scrum and the post-game press conferences, they do get posted on social media. And they do appear even on the Padres station from time to time during pregame shows or features during the game or postgame, et cetera. So, it's hard to avoid ever being part of this kind of conversation. But I'm guessing AJ's like, hey, I'm just trying to write a story here about Ryan O'Hearn and why he is not getting as many at-bats as people think he should be getting. And I think AJ Cassavell is probably one of those guys, based on what it was that he wrote at MLB.com, which you can find, and John linked into the front row seat here today. But I'm reluctant to bring it up because I always feel bad for these guys. What we are doing is intended for public consumption. This is intended for you to watch this. This is intended for you to interact with this. This is intended for you to listen to it. And that's not always the case when it is in these media scrums. Try, as some of these people might, to create a moment. And when I say these people, I do mean Mike Shildt. Like, he seems like he is determined at times to put on a little bit of a show to turn these things, which are relatively innocuous, which are never really all that combative, into some sort of performance that, people then latch on to. And I do feel for the guys, because it's not their intent to have this stuff broadcast everywhere and watched thousands and thousands of times on social media, but it really has become part of the gig there, hasn't it?
It has. Speaking of, I have the video posted to Marty Caswell's Twitter. You want to watch it?
Well, yeah, because I'm sure there's somebody here who has absolutely no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But does all that make sense?
Numbers against lefties this season. Do you consider starting against lefties, or is that maybe less bench bat?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. Where would you have started him?
There's places, there's options.
Right.
Necessarily like today or generally?
Today.
It's your call, not mine.
No, I'm just curious. Yeah, he's done fine. It's more about. The reason I ask is so I can answer the question more specifically, not.
Okay, well then today there's two options, obviously, like maybe left and Laureano center,
right?
DH, but obviously Manny's there today.
He is there today. So Manny's been going pretty hard, and he's played pretty much every game. So we're giving him a DH day, and Bryce has also swung the bat well against lefties, and we know looking at him to get an opportunity to go play some center field. So it's a really fair question and definitely consideration. Just want to be specific as to where that could have been, but yeah, Ryan's done a nice job, and he is a great option for us off the bench.
Going forward, could we see that? Like, obviously.
Okay, and then it gets cut off there, and again, like I'm also reluctant just to jump on the same thing that everybody's talking about. This has become sort of this loop of Ryan O'Hearn and why he's not getting more at bats, right? Like, we're sort of stuck in this topic loop, and I hate to feed into it, because we said that was not the objective of Section 1904. But, I do think that there is something interesting about this moment and this exchange between Mike Shildt and AJ Cassavell. And you could sort of hear AJ sighing through it, like, listen, man, I'm not filling out the lineup card. I'm just asking, like, do you know who Ryan O'Hearn even is? Right. Like, are you aware that he could play a couple different positions? Are you like, Mike, do you know who this guy is? Or what is your malfunction here, man? So, I don't want to just keep feeding into this, him trying to turn this around and pretending like, oh, yeah, I'm just trying to get you a specific answer. Like, he comes up with this sort of folksy, pretend, oh, yeah, just trying to be thorough, like, no, you're not. Like, we know what you're doing there. Like, we know exactly what it is that you're doing. You're trying to spin this around on somebody and, creating a moment where you're flipping it around on somebody who's standing there, who's asking a very legitimate question, who's also writing a story that's attempting to explain what it is that you are thinking when you're making these decisions, because that is the go-between. That's the role that media provides. We don't all have the access to Mike Shildt. So he's attempting to write a story, and he did, and a very good story, I would say, about what the thought process is here. And instead, you're turning it into some weirdo performance because you feel like you're being second guessed. Like I don't know. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that at all from Mike Shildt. And, again, I feel for these guys when they end up in these situations, because I know that's not their intent. They're not trying to create a moment here, but it's one person's insistence on this becoming a moment. And frankly, it's really sort of shitty.
It's very shitty. And look, those people exist in media, right? Those people exist that are trying to create those moments to go viral on Twitter. I don't know that we have any of those in San Diego, and I'm positive, I am 100% positive that if you were to rank the people who cover the Padres by how much they want to create a moment, AJ Cassavell would probably be at the bottom, because he is employed by Major League Baseball. He's the only person who when he writes an article, it gets published on Padres.com. Like, the team watches what he does and what he says. And so he does not have as much freedom to be critical of them. And he asked a very legitimate question. Why is the all-star that your GM traded for not in the lineup every day? Why is he not playing against left-handed pitching? And first of all, it was super shitty for Mike Shildt's answer to not be a real answer, to not be because this. He was how would you have done it? You think you can do my job is like the implication there, right? The other thing about this is he just stated a thing that's completely fucking wrong. Bryce Johnson does not hit lefties well. Also, what he doesn't do is hit well at Petco. His batting average at Petco Park is 200. It's 400 on the road. It's 200 at home. And in the last 2 weeks, you know how many hits he's had, Darren? 0. So don't tell me he's been hitting lefties really well, and that's why your freaking all-star needs to ride the bench. Like, this is the thing that Shildt doesn't seem to understand. We're not that mad at the decision. Just explain it. Make us understand. And instead of that, he's good. Well, you're not the manager. You don't know. You don't know what it's like to fill up the lineup card. Like, I wish someone was like AJ Casfeld should have doubled down and pushed on him. No, if Mike Shildt goes to the Padres and says, fire that guy, there's a pretty good chance AJ Casfeld gets fired sometime soon as a result. I know that's shitty, but that's probably true. Same thing.
I don't know. I don't know that he's got that kind of authority. You know, if it's a series, yes, you know. And I think AJ does a good job of pushing these sorts of questions that people have, you know, without going over the top and saying the things that you and I have the freedom of saying.
Where's Darnay? Where's Marty? Where's Ben Higgins to ask this question? I know he works for the Padres flagship, but like, where are the other reporters whose work does not get published on Padres.com asking him this? And when Mike Shildt comes back and goes like, where would you have put him? I'd be like, Mike, how would you write my article? Like, if we're trading jobs here, you tell me the words you would use, buddy, and I'll tell you how I would fill up your lineup card. I also thought it was incredible, and I don't know how much of this game you watched. I watched not all of it, but way too much of it. It was hilarious to me that, like, the second he gets ejected, here comes Sheets, here comes O'Hearn, Luis Arraez slides over to second base, which I don't think he's done all year. Like, it's pretty obvious that Mike Shildt's out there a little bit on an island as far as who he thinks should be out there on the field in the lineup and why. But yeah, it's bullying. It's all it is. It's bullying, and it's
attempted. I mean, it's just like attempted intimidation, right? Like, oh, I'm going to put you on the spot now. Except here's the thing. AJ doesn't get paid to get put on the spot like that, Mike. You do. That is a condition of your employment. That is not a condition of AJ Casavel's employment or anybody else in the media. I don't want to constantly just make it sound like this is unique to AJ because we've heard this with Dennis and we've heard it with Marty and we've heard it with Kevin and we've heard it with all these other people. So, you know, it's not unique just to one person here. Now, I will say, if I'm not mistaken, part of why Arraez went over to second and part of why O'Hearn even got that at bat is because Cronenworth got hit by a pitch, right? So some of this was circumstantial here. Cronenworth did come out of the game, which then created the pinch hitting opportunity. So it's not even like, you know, he's like, oh, see, I told you he's a great guy off the bench. Like, no, like, you know, you were kind of forced into that. You know, but I'm with you as well. Did they trade for Bryce Johnson? They did not trade for Bryce Johnson. So, like, they did not. They traded for this guy. They traded for this guy who was an all-star. Do you know who he is, Mike? Because when you're asking everybody how he should be used, it tells me that you're purposefully being stupid or you actually are just dumb and you don't know who he is. And that's one thing for me to not know who he is. I don't know who the guy is. I really don't. I was like, oh, yeah, he's an all-star from the Orioles. Oh, okay, cool. Feels like that's a good addition. This team doesn't have any thump. We talked about it yesterday. They don't hit homers. So, you know, feels like the kind of guy that you would think is a good addition to the squad. Well, you know, why is he getting so many fewer at-bats than somebody like Ramon Laureano, for instance, who came in at the same exact time? What is that all about? Yeah. So, like, are you not familiar with his work? Is that what you're telling us? Because you seem kind of confused by the question as to where Ryan O'Hearn is supposed to play when, you know, even somebody like me who's vaguely familiar with him could tell you I could rattle off 2-3 different spots right now. Right. You know, and like, do you want me to say something about Luis Arraez? Like, is that what you're trying to get AJ to do? So now all of a sudden now Luis Arraez hears that AJ's like, well, you could put Arraez on him. You know, like that's not his gig, man. And AJ has found himself in that situation. Remember him getting called out publicly by Eric Hosmer? Do you remember that? Where Eric Hosmer posted one of his stories because AJ wrote a piece that was very fair. All of AJ's pieces are fair. You know, you can't say that they're unfair. So, you know, he wrote a piece about Hosmer or something about ground balls or you know, whatever it was. Whatever, you know, there's myriad things you could have written about Eric Hosmer. Hosmer literally took the story, tagged Marcus Stroman, and like tried to intimidate AJ Casavel. So like, don't tell me that AJ's afraid to put himself out there. No, yeah, of course. In his capacity, he has absolutely done this before. And he's not only done it there, he's done it other times. So, you know, but again, Like, you're the one that gets paid to sit there and answer the goddamn questions, man. Like, it's not him. And I grant you that sometimes these sessions, there could be some playful banter back and forth.
Right.
Buddy was good at it. Bochy was good at it.
Yeah.
So sometimes it is a little bit more casual. But, that's one where you could tell, like, there's a little bit of venom in that from Shildt. Not that it, we don't need to carry on all day defending these people. But, again, you're the manager. Like, this is your decision. What were you told about how to use this player? Were you told at all, like, how you were going to use this player? Or were you told that this all-star starter, this guy coming over from Baltimore, that he was just going to be a bench piece? Like, maybe that's a possibility. Maybe that's a question for the other AJ to answer. AJ Preller. Maybe AJ Preller. Like, what were you thinking, like, when you were bringing this guy in here? Were you thinking that he's just a guy that's going to get a handful of at-bats, not really play all that much? I don't know. Maybe, so maybe that's some defense for him. But, again, like treating these perfectly legitimate questions and turning them into something when the whole intent of the session isn't that, to me, has just been a really bad habit from this guy.
Yeah. Agreed with everything you said. I'm going to throw a couple stats at you and then a quick thought, and then we can move on. First, do you know how many players there are in baseball, like right now on active rosters?
I'm going to guess it's like 750 or something like that.
780. Do you know how many players made the all-star teams?
Well, it was like 1 million this year, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I'm only counting the guys who were they went.
I don't know, like 50 or so, 60,
79,
75.
79, yeah. 39 on one, 40 on the other. So basically the top 10% of the league.
And was he a guy that, like, hey, we got to send somebody from this crappy team, so let's send this guy?
That's a great question. Maybe. Possibly, but still, the man's an all-star. And in the last 6 games, which is what I have in front of me, in the last 6 games, Ryan O'Hearn has started 2. They've been the 2 games against right-handed pitchers, but they're 2. Jose Iglesias has started the other 6. So essentially, this has become a Ryan O'Hearn, Jose Iglesias platoon. And I don't know if you want to answer this question, Darren. I want to answer this question from Mike Shildt. Where would I have put Ryan O'Hearn? In the lineup, Mike. He's an all-star. I put him in the lineup every day like I do with all of my other all-stars who hit. That's like, it's goofy to me, and I understand that, like, he doesn't want to push a rise out, but like, or he really wants Jose Iglesias to bat against the lefty pitchers, but like, I don't know, man. If you polled every other manager in baseball and said you could have Ryan O'Hearn or Jose Iglesias today, I think they're all picking Ryan O'Hearn. If it's Ryan O'Hearn or Luis Ariz, I think most of them are picking Ryan O'Hearn. So, like, this idea that, like, well, there's nowhere to put him because look at all this talent that we have in front of him is kind of bullshit. And I think that's why he couldn't really give a good or concise answer. And I also think with the whole thing where he stops in the middle of his answer and he's like, here's the reason I asked you that question. I think he realized he did a dickish thing and he was like, oh, I got to try and walk this back. I got to try and explain. No, I'm not trying to bully you. I'm just trying to get some clarification. So no, Mike, you know what you did.
He's a guy that wants to, like, pull the choker on these media dogs.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to pull the choker on you guys. You guys are going to heel to me. And it doesn't fly. Like, it just doesn't work. Again, I'm not going to speak for them, but I'm telling you, like, it doesn't work. It doesn't fly with a lot of those people. So, I mean, again, you should be able to figure out your GM got you an all-star caliber player who is an everyday player. Like, I don't know, man. I think you should probably figure out a way to get that guy into the lineup. And we all understand what the lefty-righty splits are. Everybody knows them by now. We don't need them to toss at us. You don't need a lecture. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that at all. On a perfectly legitimate question, as if anything, AJ's giving you an opportunity. AJ's giving you an opportunity to explain this, right?
Yeah.
And instead of just going, this guy's a fucking idiot, like, he's just giving you an opportunity to explain that.
Help me understand.
I mean, maybe there is a valid reason that none of us can see, but of course, that's not the way he operates. So you just got to live with it. And he wins a lot of games, so. This sort of carrying on and bleeding about what's going on and how local media gets treated will go in one ear and out the other, I am sure. Now, as far as the game goes, then afterwards, after the game, of course, it's pointed out that he has this, he's not happy with what happened with with VAR, soccer term, with instant replay, that took away a home run for Xander Bogaerts. And turns out there is a rule that I didn't even know existed, that, interference isn't just, taking a ball or physically impacting a ball, that there also is a rule. Part of the rule of interference is anybody who leans over the wall. Apparently, John, I did not know this detail of the rule. Did you?
I vaguely remember this becoming a really big deal in the 90s. The what was the Yankees Orioles, like ALCS, the Jeffrey whatever game, like
Jeffrey Mayer. I was at that game.
There you
I
go.
was 3 rows behind Jeffrey Mayer. I'm actually in the pictures that are around.
No shit. I'm gonna go
True
try and
story.
find a picture and see if I can spot you. But yeah,
Wearing a backwards white baseball cap.
then you'll be easy to find. Yeah, I remember after that them being like, we need to be really clear about this rule so that fans don't lean over. And then I remember them being like, we need to make this rule not so that you can't touch the ball for this reason. They didn't want people to like lean over and block the view and then like jump out of the way at the last second, because that's obviously fan interference. They were like, if you impede in any way, shape, or form, if you lean over, you are entering the field of play. That is interfering with the field of play. So yeah, I had some idea that this was a thing.
Yeah, I did not. I mean, the rule is no interference should be allowed when a fielder reaches over the fence, railing, rope, stand to catch a ball. He does so at his own risk. However, should a spectator reach out onto the playing field side of the fence, railing a rope, and plainly prevent the fielder from catching the ball, then the batsman should be called out for spectators' interference. Now, you can argue some of the language there about plainly this or obviously that, but the essence of it is when people reach over this wall, which these guys did. I guess they were Giants fans who found those seats, and then they turned around and they flipped the bird to the whole crowd. Did you see that?
I saw it on TV. I saw the TV producers go, "Oh, get off that right away!"
That was pretty funny. Mud's reaction was like, "Hey!" So these guys went full double bird afterwards, but they were over the wall, And his whole complaint afterwards was that it took 2 minutes and 40 seconds, like as if that means anything.
Yeah.
What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. Maybe the replay booth was busy with a different game.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean anything. Like, it doesn't mean the thing that he thinks it is.
His whole argument was like it took him too long.
240. Like he sat around for 8 innings, like with a stopwatch, going, it took 240. Like, yeah, maybe they had to find other angles from San Francisco. That's the other thing you always have to remember about replay. Whatever it is that you see, there is another television crew. This isn't soccer where you have the world feed and only the world feed. The Bay Area, NBC Bay Area, San Francisco Giants, they have their own camera people out there. So, maybe you're waiting to try to get a transmission from somebody else. This is always possible. But the whole 240 thing, that doesn't mean anything. It means nothing at all.
Who cares? They wanted to get it right.
Yeah, it sucks. And it sucks, right? Like, I was unaware of this. It's like, no, that can't take away a home run. What are we doing here? This is madness. This doesn't make any sense. These guys never even touched the ball. But I didn't know the rule.
But then this is what drives me crazy. Tell me if this drives you crazy, because this has driven me crazy my entire life. So the Padres are down 4-0. Xander Bogaerts hits a home run, 4-1. Home run comes off 4-0 again. And then they lose 4-3. And everyone's like, if only we had gotten that home run. As if everything else that happened after that would have happened the exact same way that it had happened.
Right.
If the home run was good and not thrown out. No. The reason you scored 3 runs, yes, you were trying to score more, is because the Giants were trying to preventing you to get to 4. If it was 4-1, things would have changed. Or decision-making would have changed. Maybe the management from Sleepy Bob would have changed.
Yeah, maybe it gets Ray out of there.
Right. But I don't understand this theory where people are like, oh, well, we had a run come off the board in the 4th inning, and we lost by a run after 9. Therefore, they screwed us out of it. That's not how that works.
I know, it's excuse making. There's a great phrase for that. Do you know Michael Kay, the longtime New York Yankees
Michael
announcer?
Kay. Yes.
He has a phrase for this. It's called the fallacy of the predetermined outcome.
Yes.
And it's the perfect way of phrasing that because something happened in the second that you can then, in hindsight, reflect on and say, well, we lost 4-3 and we got jobbed on that one run. So that would have made it 4-4. You're exactly right. You don't know that the game gets managed the same exact way. You don't know. Maybe there's a situation where they decide to move a runner instead of just playing an open, So it always is. You can always argue that stuff, but it is the fallacy of the predetermined outcome that everything was going to happen exactly the same way if that ball is ruled a home run. And you just, A, there's no way to prove it, and B, it's probably false. So,
Also,
it's
the
probably
Padres-
it's probably inaccurate.
The Padres got managed by a literal different person after that. Like, you can't say
Right.
all the decisions would have been the same. It's a different person making the decisions.
Although, who knows? He's probably yelling down the hallway. Anyway,
Probably is. Banging
probably
the
is.
trash can.
Again, and he knows he's getting thrown out there. You can't argue that. So when he comes onto the field, everybody knows. So much for the theory, by the way, that getting ejected from these games somehow, manifested into results.
They
You
scored
know where
3
Ryan
runs,
O'Hearn
Darren.
maybe should start though, John? How about maybe in right field tonight? Because those at bats from Fernando Tatis Jr. I don't know that I've seen at bats in a game worse than what we saw from Fernando last night. I just was like, what is happening here with these swings? I mean, this looks like somebody who's at a batting cage who isn't a professional athlete. So I don't know. Maybe you should add this to the possibilities for Ryan O'Hearn. I mean, these at bats were brutal last night. Like the contact, the body, the swing. Man, it's bad. It's not good.
Yeah. I theorized, I think maybe on the Discord, that I was like, maybe what they should do instead of putting Bryce Johnson in center field is move Fernando Tatis over to center field and put Laureano and O'Hearn at the corners and just be like, hey, we're gonna try and slug him to death. And maybe that would shake up Tatis, who looks like he's in a bad way right now. But so does Machado. So does Bogarts to a certain extent. Like you can talk about they stole that home run from him, but that home run was a fly ball. It was a deep fly ball. But it's not like he crushed it. It's a wall scraper, right?
Yeah, by the way, I mean, it wasn't going over the wall until
Right.
it hit the glove of the fielder anyway.
Right.
You
So
know? I mean, like the fielder knocked it over there.
yeah, so they're just, I don't know. They're in rough shape right now. And the only two guys who every single time they get a plate appearance, they're awesome, is Ryan O'Hearn and Gavin Sheets, the two guys who cannot get in the freaking starting lineup unless it's a right-handed pitcher on the mound. I said the other day, I was like, the Shildt managing of Ryan O'Hearn has gotten so crazy that I wonder if he was given a directive from the front office of like, absolutely never will he be in the lineup against lefties, because otherwise it's just madness. And I think that's what AJ was, to go all the way back around. I think that's what AJ was saying. Like, no one understands your decision making here. Can you explain it to us? And of course he couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, it really is an opportunity to just explain your thought process instead of trying to be intimidating or whatever. So, all right, well, they play again in a few hours, so we'll just move on to the next game, and it's Pavetta. So, if you had to start Game 1 of the playoff today, who are you starting?
Not Dylan Cease, not Yu Darvish, not Nestor Cortez. Today, where Michael King can't pitch because his knee hurts, it's Nick Pivetta.
Yeah, I would say so, huh? Quite a
I mean,
story.
It is quite a story. I mean, we all, I think a lot of people, when that signing was announced, we were like, yeah, that's going to be good. Him and Petco Park, that's going to be good. But
Good?
What?
This good? I was like, man, this is a really good, like, this guy is a real number 3. I'm like, thank God for him.
Yeah.
Like, where would we be without this guy? I was like, man, to get a leg up on having a bona fide number 3 who's probably better than a lot of other third starters and a lot of other staffs. Like, that's a good bit of business there from AJ Preller and his staff. And then today, I'm like, geez, who knew? Like, who knew? Like this was the most important move, perhaps, of the entire season up until this point. I'm with you. I mean, without hesitation. If you're like, okay, playoff spot secured, off you go. We're getting set. You can line it up however you want to line it up. I'm picking him. I am picking him as well.
Yeah. By the way, because when they traded for him, I was so excited for Nestor Cortez. I still really like watching Nestor Cortez pitch. Last night, he started off the game. You probably didn't see the first inning. He started off the game. Home run, double, home run. First 4 batters. No outs. Home run, double, home run. You're down 4-0. You haven't gotten an out. I don't think Ruben Niebla walked out and talked to him. There never seemed to be any consideration for pulling him, which I guess good. And we just got an answer in the YouTube comments of who you would want to start Game 1, and someone said bullpen day. Which maybe.
Even that's confusing now. Nobody knows what order these guys are supposed to go in.
I know. He said start David Morgan, make it a bullpen day. But yeah, Nestor Cortez was really good after that. It looked like someone who had just lost something when he got out there on the mound, like whether he lost his touch, his release point, something, and it took him a couple batters to find it. And unfortunately, the Giants jumped all over it because they spotted it. But yeah, he was really good after that. But before that, something looked wrong. And I mean, it's a guy who, he took 6 months off of pitching or 4 months off pitching, whatever. He went from the beginning of the year till basically last week without pitching. Same thing I said with you, Darvish. Like, some of these pitches are pitches that should have been thrown in spring training, and they're being thrown now. So I'm kind of with Nestor Cortez that he was good after that. But I
can buy it. It just sounds like the kind of thing afterwards where you're like, you wonder like how that feels when you say that sort of stuff. You're like, yeah, if I didn't give up those 3 home runs in the first, man, this would have been a quality start. You're like, yeah.
It's the old, besides that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln? Yeah.
All right. Well, 3 more with San Francisco, and then 3 with LA. Still 2 games back, but the Dodgers with the bullet because of the tiebreaker. At Seattle, at Minnesota, they've given up. Baltimore at home. Rockies, the dangerous Colorado Rockies, who are doing just enough to probably convince their leadership group there that their interim manager is worth keeping. Cincinnati, Colorado again. Mets, White Sox, Brewers. Man, how about the Brewers? That's quite a story in baseball. Is anybody going to beat the Brewers? I don't know.
Patty Pancakes.
It's Murph. Is that who you're talking?
Yeah, did you not see the story where he was doing a post-game interview and he pulled a pancake out of his pocket and started eating it? I did not. And so now everyone has been calling him Pocket Pancakes. Just a goofy man. Like,
I give Murph credit for here's a guy, it went so poorly in 2015. I thought he was going to be laughed out of Major League Baseball.
Everyone did.
And I say that as somebody who got to know him a little bit. I don't think he was the right person for the job at the time. And I actually do think somewhere AJ Preller does deserve credit.
Because he
found believing that Pat Murphy could be a big league manager. It was just a terrible time to do it. It was an awful time to put him into that clubhouse in that situation with that coaching staff that had no respect for him whatsoever. And I thought he'd just get laughed out of big league ball and he would go back to college someplace and he could be a real rah-rah college kind of guy. That he found himself back to baseball, even if it was because Craig Counsell played for him and said, hey, let me give this guy a gig. You can be my bench coach. And then Counsell takes off to go to the Cubs. And Murph, is he going to be back-to-back manager of the year in the sport?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. I always thought, I was like, God, what was Preller doing? But I guess I understand what it was that he saw in the guy. It's just that the timing was terrible.
What a scout. What a scout.
Right.
He saw it coming miles away. I remember when he got the job to be like Craig Counsell's bench coach in Milwaukee. And I was like, really? That guy? You want that guy?
God,
what a joke that guy ended up being. We said that at the exact same time. Jinx. But just what a guy. What a guy. And like, there is nothing more that baseball players respond to and respect more than you were essentially a joke and you didn't care. And you just hustled and you worked and you just kept showing up every day with a smile on your face, pushing through, going, I'll figure this out. And then you do. I bet players absolutely adore him. I think they probably did before, but now, like, legend status. He's going to be a Brewers manager for 10 years, probably, at least.
Yeah, did he play? I don't think he did.
I think he played minor league ball. Maybe it was just college ball.
Yeah, I don't really remember ever asking him about his playing career, but I knew he was a big-time college coach. Arizona State, I think Notre Dame. So, yeah, obviously Notre Dame, that's where he would have come across with Craig Counsell. But, yeah, a guy, not to be a name dropper here, but after he won Manager of the Year, I sent him a message. I was like, I'm really happy for you. I just, turns out it was that clubhouse that was whack. It wasn't you. It just was like a really shitty clubhouse, and like Matt Kemp and you. And listen, there were some real problems there, but there were coaches on that staff who the story was that when he took over, he wanted to reassign the coaches, right? This was never public. But he wanted to reassign the coaches and he wanted, to switch everybody's jobs around a little bit. And the coaches were like, what is this? What are we doing? Like, it's July. But he's like, I want this guy closer to me. I don't trust this guy, what he's doing in the clubhouse. So like there was a lot of things that were happening there that were going on. And it was bad. It was bad player clubhouse. Coaches were all over the place. Not great. So, but yeah, that was the thing. And I remember I had to ask AJ Preller about that on the air, and he denied it. And then later down the road confessed that it was true.
By the way, it looks like he did play 4 years in the minors. Says for the Giants, Padres, and 2 independent teams.
Huh.
I do find it very funny that his Wikipedia page has a picture of him managing the Tucson Padres.
Oh.
I forgot that team existed for like 2 years. I think that was like while they were building the stadium in El Paso, the Tucson Padres, right? I think I have that right.
Sounds right.
What would you guess is Pat Murphy's age? He looks
Pat
ageless.
Murphy's age.
He looks timeless. He looks like a manager that came out in the 50s. But how old do you think he is?
I'm going to guess that Murph is 63 years old.
Really close. 66. I thought he was younger than that.
Yeah. So you think he looks old?
No, I think he looks young for his age. Like I just said, he'll be the Brewers manager for the next 10 years. But now I'm like, he's not going to be the Brewers manager when he's 75. I don't think.
He takes care of himself, though. Yeah, I mean,
Obviously.
he's a guy that's kind of, I think, gone through a couple things in life and cleaned it up and has a much healthier lifestyle now than what it was that he used to have. So, I think it keeps him young doing all this stuff. Anyhow, not sure how we got on to old Pat Murphy, but
I don't know.
I always like talking about Murph. Those were some fun times when we would have him on a weekly basis. There were some stories about him that were floating around about him and Matt Kemp that,
Fisticuffs?
No, he just, he had to try to kill the guy with kindness because when you're a manager and you can't get a player on your side, you've got no chance, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, yell at the players, call them out. Like, that's how you end up.
Yeah, they turn on you.
Somebody told me that they were at the winter meetings afterwards, and he said something to the effect of, Matt Kemp were on fire. I wouldn't piss on him to put it out. Like it was one of those kind of things. But he had no choice. I mean, you had to try to, kill these guys with kindness just to get them to show up and care.
Speaking of killing people with kindness, do you want to talk about Gavin Newsom's tweets?
Okay, that's an interesting transition.
I mean, I find them fascinating.
You mean the new style of the governor of California to just go and essentially do the all capitals, self-promotional kind of Trumpian style of social media posting? That's what you're talking about? Do you believe that he is the person who's responsible for these tweets?
No, actually, I don't. Which I think you sent me one at one point. I was like, that's not him. That's his press team or whatever. And you pointed out that each one of these is signed GCN, which I'm assuming C is his middle initial. And but that's also just mocking the Donald Trump signing his own tweets with DJT, I think. I don't think it's really him. But I find it fascinating. And the most fascinating part of this to me is actually the Fox News part of it. Because I'm going to play a clip for you of Fox News talking about Gavin Newsom tweeting like Donald Trump. Play.
The other thing is, or at the debate, the other thing for me is that for the last week, Gavin Newsom, why am I giving him advice? You have to stop it with the Twitter thing. I don't know where his wife is. If I were his wife, I would say, "What? You are making a fool of yourself. Stop it. Do not let your staff tweet. And if you're doing it yourself, put the phone away and start over. And if you really, he's got a big job as governor of California, but if he wants an even bigger job, he has to be a little bit more serious."
Okay,
you're so close to getting it.
They're so close. She's like, "You look like a fool." Yes. This is the point of it. And I think that account even like reposted it. It was like, we've been doing this for a week and they don't get it yet. The whole point of it is if it was anyone but Trump, the response would be that. The response would be, what a fool, what a maniac, what a crazy person. By the way, while you were having your morning of running around SDFC training, Donald Trump posted another thing where he said that the Smithsonian is out of control because everything in it discusses how horrible our country is, how bad slavery was, and how unaccomplished the downtrodden have been. Nothing about success, nothing about brightness, and nothing about the future. It's a museum. It's a museum. And he's like, there's nothing about brightness or future, just all this stuff from the past that's sad. It's a museum, guy. We have literally elected like the dumbest person ever. We've given him this platform, this huge platform, to continue to be the loudest dumb person you've ever known. And I'm not going to sit here and say like I think Gavin Newsom should be doing this, or I think Gavin Newsom shouldn't be doing this. But I love the fact that all he has done is mimic Trump's style, and all the response to it is, "You look like an idiot." Yes, that's the point. It's to show you that he also looks like an idiot. If you take away the Trump screaming in your face about stuff and all the anxiety that runs through your brain when you read one of his Truth Social posts, you see all of this just points out how stupid he is.
Yeah, I think a lot of people like this style, right? And this is just, we all live in California. A lot of us do. So it impacts us. This is impactful. I don't know how many people who are watching or listening voted for him, or like him, to John's point. But, this is the governor of California who represents 45 million people who is doing this sort of stuff. And I think you're right. I mean, I think it's easy to say he's just holding up a mirror to this behavior that we've
Exactly.
all been part of since 2015 or whatever, since it was that Donald Trump became interested or semi-interested in politics. But it does, it seems to be really irritating to a lot of people. I did see the response from your boy Kid Rock, because there was this one meme that he put up there of Kid Rock and Hulk Hogan from the grave. And who else was it? Like they were all sort of worshiping around, or something like that. There was, maybe that wasn't what it was. Maybe Kid Rock wasn't part of that, but
no, he was. It was Kid Rock, Hulk Hogan from the grave, and someone else. I don't remember.
Yeah, there was something that was involving Kid Rock, and Kid Rock responded, and he's like, "The only support Gavin Newsom, right? That's the thing. The only support Gavin Newsom will ever get out of me is D's nuts." And I'm like, this is where we're at now. Like, Kid Rock is like, "Hey, Gavin Newsom. How about D's nuts?" Like, I don't know. This is why I'm not sure that I'm a real fan of it, but there's a lot of people who are supportive of him who seem to think that this is the right approach, that holding up this mirror to make these people understand, and all it is just like a funhouse mirror. People see what they want to see out of it. But I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm sitting around thinking like, whatever happened to decorum? And, that's just obviously not part of this conversation anymore. So,
yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Kid Rock and Hulk Hogan, and but again, method to the madness. A lot of people sort of see that exactly what I'm looking for in my elected official. I gotta say, probably not.
Probably not,
because I don't think. It could be entertaining for a lot of people who are supportive of, but it's not going to change anybody who who thinks, that Donald Trump is good at this.
What I think it's better than is I think it's better than the people who go, if Biden had said this, if Obama had said this, imagine the response. If Biden had said this, imagine the response. I don't think people have imaginations anymore. It's much better to just hold up the mirror. Be like, look how stupid this is. I didn't know about the Kid Rock tweet, but that does explain. I went to the page to try and just see what the page was up to. It's the Gavin Newsom press office Twitter account, not Gavin Newsom himself. And the most recent tweet just said in all caps, "I hate Kid Rock," with like a bunch of exclamation points, which was exactly when Donald Trump posted, "I hate Taylor Swift" right before the election. Yeah. And I was like, that's funny. Like, I was like, why are they going out to Kid Rock?
I mean, some of it, I will say, like, some of it does make you laugh, right? Like, what's that one pundit's name? Tommy Lahren or whatever?
Yeah.
Tony, what's her name?
Tommy?
I don't know who these people
I don't know either.
But, like, she, of course, had to take a crack at it. And, she was, trying to be insulting towards something that he was doing. And, like, his office or him or whatever is like, "You sound woke." I was like, that actually is pretty funny. He's like, I'm just gonna call her woke.
Right.
So, yeah.
Just it's the whole like, oh, all they do is tweak the libs, and they're like, well, what if all we do is tweak
Right,
the
like, just
MAGA
here you
people?
go. We're going to use exactly the same language. And I will say, like, they did make me laugh when whatever it was that she was moaning about this moment, he just was like, oh, you sound woke to me, because you can imagine her be like, what? Like, how did I end up here? But again, like, is this getting us anywhere? I don't know, man. I don't know. I have my doubts, John. I have my doubts.
Yeah. We have some breaking news, Darren.
A lineup?
We have a lineup. Our buddy Omid let us know in the comments that a lineup is out, and Ryan O'Hearn is DHing and hitting 4th. Would you like to try and guess the lineup?
I would not.
Okay. Tatis leading off, Arise at first base, Machado, O'Hearn batting 4th, Bogarts at short, Laureano at center, Gavin Sheets in left field, and because he can't take a day off, Darren, Jose Iglesias at second base, followed by Diaz at catcher. So Fermin gets a day off. I got to say,
Tatis again? I'm sorry, I missed
Tatis is leading off and playing in right field.
Yep, Arise Machado. Okay, O'Hearn, and O'Hearn is the highlighted name and circled on the social media slide.
They've heard the fans, Darren. They want more O'Hearn. They want more Sheets.
You don't piss off AJ Cassavell and not have to deal with the consequences of that.
I wonder. I bet he had such a smile on his face when he opened that tweet up and saw. He was like, "Oh, all right, cool." I do think it's funny that O'Hearn is the DH, not the first baseman. Doesn't matter. I don't need to be picky about it. But they found a spot for him, Darren. All it took was Jake Cronenworth getting injured, and they found a spot for him.
86%. I don't know how many people voted in this, but I just saw the notification on Discord. Since we were talking a little bit about realignment yesterday, and I figured maybe riding the wave of disappointment from a 3-game sweep in Los Angeles, this might impact people's thought process. I did say, what division would you like to be if there is realignment coming into Major League Baseball? What division would you like to be in? An all-California division where it would be San Francisco, Los Angeles, Anaheim, San Diego, right? There's probably going to be divisions of 4. Or would you rather be in a division with Arizona, Las Vegas, Colorado? These are hypotheticals. I don't know that either's been proposed, although people are putting their thoughts out there. So 86% say they want to stay in the California division, John. San Francisco, LA, and Anaheim. I wonder if you hooked up Eric Grupner to a lie detector and said, what division would you like to be in? What's a better way to guarantee some home playoff games? Being in a division with Arizona and Vegas and Colorado, or being in a division for the rest of your life with the LA Dodgers? What division would you rather be in? I don't know. Again, I think it's kind of loser energy. I would rather stick to the state of California. But I understand somebody who would say, going out there, and somebody said, hey, we'd be the laughing stock. Somebody on social media said that, you pointed out, what is that division title even worth? Well, it's worth home games, and that's a lot of money.
Right, it's worth money.
Yeah, it's worth money.
And banners. People still hang banners for winning
nobody
divisions.
gives a shit what goes on in the AL Central. I mean, that division almost every single year, isn't it? Like one of the, you win it with 84 some years.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. But like a division title, do you just want to be hanging, wild card banners in perpetuity? I'm not sure.
Kind of. But that's just me. That's not for everyone.
All righty. Well, anyway, sorry that we're late. That was on me. So
it's fine, man. Life happens.
It does. It does happen. Thankfully, we have this way of communicating in the middle of the afternoon. It's hot here.
It's getting hot here,
I got to turn a fan on, I think. I have all my windows closed for acoustic optimization.
It's very kind of you to the podcast, Darren.
It is, John. I know. I know. What are you doing with the rest of your day? By the way, are we going to head out to Bottle Rocket on Thursday?
Let's go to Bottle Rocket on Thursday.
Okay.
We I don't think we said that on the podcast. I believe Eli said they're opening at 11 for the 1:00 game. I do want to get there early because otherwise parking is going to be garbage. But 11 o'clock, Bottle Rocket. We'll be there. We'll be recording some sort of podcast, and we'll probably stick around for a beer or two with anyone who wants to show up before they head down to Petco Park to watch the Padres take on the Dodgers. I don't know yet if I'm going to be part of that crowd or if I'm going to try and jump in my car and beat the traffic back home. I'll probably make that decision in the next day or two. But yeah, let's go to Bottle Rocket on Thursday. Have fun. They're only around for a little while longer, Darren. Let's go and appreciate them and love them.
All right. Sounds good to me. And I know I wish I had the name of one of our members, somebody in the section who did go to Bottle Rocket and did post a picture and say he heard us talking about it, so he decided to go and check in for the first time.
Was that? Wait, no. Tony Bubbles posted a picture of a burger that night, and it was the most insane burger I've seen. That's not the normal burger there, is it?
I didn't see that. I don't know.
It was like a double, triple burger, and it had like lettuce and tomato on the bottom, and like the meat patties.
Well, that was the burger that inspired us to go there in the first place.
Is it really? Maybe I haven't had the burger there in too long.
Somebody
Maybe
posted a burger
Thursday.
last night of a burger with Bordelaise sauce. Now I ended up buying a couple burger patties, and I crushed a couple of burgers. Well, I had one last night. Wife's out of town, so I usually cook for 2 days. So I'll have a second burger tonight. So that's Monday, Tuesday, and then. I guess we're going there Thursday. That'll be 3 burgers in 1 week for me. It's a lot. But I do love a good burger, man.
Who doesn't? People in our comments saying, what is happening to Bottle Rocket? That's right. We didn't talk about it on the podcast.
We didn't. I know. Do we want to let people in? We knew, Eli confided in us what it was that was happening. And we had him on, and he did say that he wanted to address his really loyal clientele. So we weren't going to be weird and put him in a spot where...
Right.
We said you should make that announcement on your own, not on our podcast. You should absolutely do that.
Which he did.
He did. And then later on in the day, because I know somebody asked, like, oh, did you know this when you guys were there? Like, yeah. But like, did I know that when I woke up that day? I did not. Go ahead, though. I mean, you can, for people that are asking.
I mean, Eli, you can check the Bottle Rocket Instagram page if you want to see. Eli made the announcement that due to a number of different issues, they are closing their doors. I think September 31st. Do I have that right? October.
I thought he said at the end of October.
October 31st.
He thought the only way that they wouldn't be open is if for
World
the
Series
Padres
games.
season is if the World Series went to a Game 7.
That's right. So they're staying open through October. So November 1, there will be no more Bottle Rocket Bar and Grill in downtown San Diego. We're all very sad about it. We want to support them as much as we can between now and then, and encourage everyone to go there just regularly, but also, again, great pregame, postgame spot. It's part of the reason that I'm excited to be going there on Thursday. Even if I don't go to the game, it's just fun to be there and around that energy. And yeah, great food, great beer, all that stuff. Wish those guys the best, and looking forward to being there in 2 days.
Yep. And I saw Steve Garcia from 3 Punk Ales and Cesar Torres. They were all out there yesterday.
Hell yeah.
Of course, did you get invited?
No, not to that one.
I didn't either. Would you have gone?
That's not a question I feel like I need to answer, Darren.
Yep, doesn't matter now.
What would you have done in the Mike
I was right
Shildt?
across the bay on a bike. I was on a beautiful bike ride yesterday. It felt so good just to get out for like 3-4 hours and just
I saw your
ride.
videos. The videos they looked fantastic.
It was such a nice day just to get out. I had some podcasts to listen to, just outdoors, a little bit of nature, cruising up and down. Had a cup of coffee with the stat man. So it's just like a fun Monday decompression, work weekend. So
Speaking of your
had a few
easy
hours.
life, I got to go because I have to go pick up my kid from her first day of school shortly.
Okay. Well, I think we hit it all. So there you go. We'll talk to you again tomorrow at a more routine time for us. Thank you all for your support, and we do appreciate it. Section1904.com. We'll see you on Wednesday.